Welcome back to Guiding Bulk Gaming. I'm Jessica, and today we're going to continue our overview regarding minor decks of many things. Last time we walked through 10 different decks. Today I've got 10 more alternative options to the game-breaking original to share with you. Let's dive into the first deck. As a reminder, URL sources to each deck can be found down below in the description. Shared on Duck and Roll by August Knights, the deck of All Too Many Things consists of 54 cards or plaques made of any conceivable material. Each card is engraved with glyphs, characters, and sigils, and its magic takes effect immediately once it is drawn. The character who wishes to draw a card must announce how many cards they will draw before they begin. Cards must be drawn within rapid succession, and a character may only choose to draw cards from the deck once per week. If the character does not willingly draw their allotted number, the cards flip out of the deck on their own and take effect as best as possible. Any attempts to draw specific cards will result in random cards being drawn. Each time a card is taken from the deck, it is replaced, making it possible to draw the same card twice. Here are some examples of the cards held within the deck. If the 10 of Spades is drawn, the character is under the impression they have drawn the Moon card and are granted 1d3 wishes, which they must take on the spot. These wishes are horribly corrupted, yet granted. Once the character makes their final wish, they are made aware that they drew the Djinn card. If the 9 of Hearts is drawn, the character's highest ability score increases by 3, while all their other ability scores are reduced by 1. This change is not a bonus or a penalty of any kind. It's a pure and simple increase and decrease. If the 5 of Clubs is drawn, the character may gain a vulnerability or a resistance to a random element. First, roll a D percentile. If the percentile is 50 or lower, the character gains a vulnerability to the rolled element type and suffers 1.5 damage from the element source. If the percentile is 51 or higher, the character gains a resistance to the rolled element type and ignores 2 times their hit die from the element source. Next, roll a 1d6. Rolling a 1 relates to fire damage, a 2 to cold, 3 electricity, 4 is acid, 5 is sonic, and 6 is force. The next step is a simple one that can open up a lot of fun for the DM to play around with. It's the deck of Manny's Things by Reddit user Infinite Square Whale. We are told that Manny Harridge is a slightly crazy, somewhat senile, short little wizard. He has been studying the creation of magic decks and has begun to experiment with creating his own by using things around him. Unfortunately, one of his bags fell out of his wagon while traveling one day, and he lost the first deck he experimented with. If a second card is drawn from this deck within the same day, nothing happens. Here are a few examples of the deck's contents. If the Chariot is drawn, the card disappears and Manny's wagon, but not his horses, appear in place of it. If Death is drawn, the card disappears and Manny's hourglass appears in place of the card. If the Emperor is drawn, the card disappears and Manny's signet ring appears in place of it. The third deck on our list today comes from BJ Hypes. The deck of Silly Things contains 74 cards of various shenanigans. The deck is available for purchase or as a free download. Here are a few examples from the deck. The Brick of Torture. Now deemed too horrible for even the wickedest of torturers, a brick of torture has survived from the Dark Ages and become an instrumental part of every assassin's toolkit. Placing the brick of torture on the ground, any creature who steps over it must make a dexterity saving throw of 15 or step on it. Any creature who steps on the brick takes 1d8 piercing damage and must curse as loud as they are able. What constitutes cursing is relative to the creature. Oddly, this brick of torture additionally seems to make all those who step on it yell, "I thought I told you to clean these things up!" even if this has never been formally requested before. After dealing damage, the brick of torture becomes invisible for 1 minute. Indestructible fruitcake. While most desserts are made to be eaten or thrown in the face of a grump, fruitcakes were invented as a way to gracefully tell someone how little they mean to you. Since most fruitcakes last well over a year, one may be passed from one shitty person to another, but legends tell of one fruitcake that survived so many holidays its origins were lost. Yes, a dessert for terrible people found its way to you, but don't let that influence how you view yourself. For all we know, you could be a model citizen who would never even think about burning down another tavern. The indestructible fruitcake cannot be destroyed, obliterated, incinerated, disintegrated, or liquidated by any means physical or magical. The indestructible fruitcake weighs 20 pounds and takes up about 1 square foot of space. While there is no possible way for anyone to eat this, even if they have a very large fork, we are required to mention that the indestructible fruitcake contains gluten. Coconuts of haste. Over the hill you hear it galloping, the thunder of 1,000 mighty steeds charging to battle. And as the army rises over the horizon, you see these are no ordinary creatures, but the legendary coconut riders. In the centuries to follow, the coconut riders' ancient methods of fast-paced travel using only coconuts would be lost, often when their descendants got into an argument and both parties died in a stalemate of frustration. And still, if you're lucky, you may get your hands on a relic from this time. Coconuts of haste. Banging these two coconut halves together in a rhythmic clopping fashion allows you to move as fast as a horse for 8 hours between long rests. During this time, you're at disadvantage for any stealth checks. You know, you're banging coconut halves together. It also increases the speed of one other friendly creature if they stand in front of you and keep one arm outstretched with the other on their waist. Up next is the deck of Indeterminable Fate by Reddit user Koi5853. This deck has 16 options, and here are a few examples. Hazard Pay. Anytime the affected takes damage for the next year, they gain 1 silver piece per point of damage taken. The currency will always appear on their person, and if there is no room, in their person. Uncanny Adept. Magic users gain an additional level 2 spell slot or 2 level 1 spell slots. Non-magic users gain access to a cantrip, randomized or player choice, and may cast it as if they are a sorcerer or wizard of their current level. You too? The creature can witness any event another creature has witnessed as if it were through their own eyes once per day. In order to activate this effect, the creature must succeed a DC 14 Charisma check. Deck 5 on our list is the deck of Slightly Fewer Things from Reddit user The Lazy Berserker. This deck is usually found in a box or pouch and is comprised of ebony or leather cards. 66% of the time, the deck only contains 12 cards. The rest of the time, it contains a full 20. Before you draw a card, you must declare how many cards you intend to draw and then draw them randomly. As soon as you draw a card from the deck, its magic takes effect. You must draw each card no more than 1 hour after the previous draw. If you fail to draw the chosen number, the remaining number of cards fly from the deck on their own and take effect all at once. Once a card is drawn, it fades from existence and reappears in the deck, making it possible to draw the same card twice. Here are 3 card possibilities from this deck. Pulling the Ace of Hearts means you've drawn the Rose. A creature of the DM's choice falls madly in love with you and will stop at nothing to be alone by your side. Pulling the Jack of Diamonds means you've drawn the Coward. Every time you roll initiative, you must also roll a Wisdom saving throw, DC 15, to avoid getting frightened. This effect lasts until dispelled by Greater Restoration or similar magic. Pulling the 2 of Spades means you've drawn the Tree. Your height increases by 1d4 feet. The Balance deck by Reddit user Unsalo is next. The Balance deck includes 10 strictly positive, 10 strictly negative, and 10 mixed results cards. Here are a few examples. The Gambler. You add 2 to your number of declared draws. You must draw them as if they were in your initial number of declared draws. Lightfoot. You feel your steps become lighter, making movement easier. You permanently gain 10 movement speed. Sage. You feel a transformation in your mind, bringing with it the wisdom of an old wise one. However, you also feel yourself becoming less agile with your newfound wisdom. Roll 1d4, add the number to your wisdom score, and subtract the same number from your dexterity score. Next is the deck of minor things, which comes from creator Stormclouds. Usually found in a box or pouch, this deck contains a number of cards made of paper or parchment. Before you draw a card, you must declare how many cards you intend to draw and draw them randomly. As soon as you draw a card from the deck, its magic takes effect. You must draw each card no more than 1 hour after the previous draw. If you fail to draw the chosen number, the remaining number of cards fly from the deck on their own and take effect all at once. If the card is the Fool or the Jester, it reappears in the deck. Otherwise, once a card is drawn, it fades from existence. Here are 3 of the 22 options that can be drawn. If you pull the Inn, you gain proficiency in the Persuasion skill. If you already had proficiency, you double your proficiency bonus on checks made with that skill. In addition, you gain rightful ownership of a roadside tavern somewhere in the world. However, the tavern is currently in the hands of bandits, which you must clear out before you can claim the inn as yours. If you pull the Donjon, you are suddenly imprisoned in a cage of adamantine. The bars are 1 inch apart, both vertical and horizontal. If you pull the Void, this black card spells disaster out loud. Disaster. Disaster. The DM then chooses a word for you to spell. Either the player may do this or the character may make a DC 13 intelligence check. If you fail the card calls you a loser and vanishes. If you succeed, the DM chooses a word for the card, but it cannot spell it. The card then dispenses a small commemorative plaque featuring your misspelled name over the words Spelling Bee Champion. This card can only spell disaster. Number 8 is the deck of many Unearthings, which comes from Evil Kaka on Flute's Loot. Historian and treasure hunter Carl Lonbar spent his life searching for the most powerful ancient artifacts. He accumulated 20 of these in his career. To protect his life's work, Carl hid the artifacts in pocket planes of his own creation, accessible only by activating the entrances contained in simple playing cards. The current holder of the deck, Carl's great-grandson, has come into financial peril. He has decided to sell off cards to selective adventurers. Here are a few of the cards he's selling. Nimursel's Shield. This shield grants +3 to AC. While wielding it, the wearer can grip it with 2 hands and slam it into the ground to create a magical dome around them, up to 10 feet wide and 10 feet tall. This barrier absorbs up to 10 times the player's level damage before shattering. A player can willingly dismiss the dome. Brass Dragon Figurine. A player may rub the figurine to summon a young brass dragon for no longer than 24 hours. The dragon is friendly to the player and allies and is controlled by the player so long as it does not violate its alignment. The dragon's initiative will be the same as the player and will take its turn immediately after the player. The player can decide what the dragon will do. If the dragon runs out of hit points, the dragon returns to the statue. A player cannot summon the dragon again for 7 days. Merlin's Heart. Contained in a chest, the still-beating heart of one of the most powerful sorcerers who ever lived. The heart can be used as a spell-casting focus, and when used as such, all spells made with the heart count as 2 levels above the level of the spell slot used. The last two decks in the video today come from Reddit user Orcish Blade. The first is the deck of Maritime Things. This deck only works while aboard a ship at sea. You cannot activate a card while your ship is docked, anchored, or moored in any way. The holder of the deck can activate up to 3 cards at a time. A card remains active until returning to the deck. If you go ashore or your ship stops in any port, any active cards remain active for 1 week. After this time, cards disappear, their effects end, and they return to the deck. If you try to take the entire deck ashore, it disappears from your possession within 24 hours and reappears hidden somewhere on the ship on which it was last used. If that ship has been sunken, destroyed, or dry docked, the deck appears beneath the water somewhere near the wreckage or final mooring place. Here are a few examples from this deck. Rolling a 3 results in the Magician. This card puts the wind at your back, increasing your speed to the maximum your ship is capable of. Rolling a 9 results in Illness. This card insults you. You rotten lots of scurvy dogs! While you and the rest of the crew become sick with scurvy. Each humanoid aboard gains 1 level of exhaustion. Rolling an 18 results in The Bones. This card conjures a set of finely crafted gaming dice. Our final deck variant is the deck of Money Things. Foolish gamblers believe this deck will bestow riches upon them. This is rarely the case. Dealings from this deck is always a gamble. Here's what could happen when playing around with this deck. If you draw the High Priestess, your god takes 5 gold pieces away from you right out of your purse. If you draw the Fountain, you feel compelled to throw 2d4 copper pieces into the fountain in the square outside the local temple. The Lovers. You find a pair of 2 shiny copper coins. You will have good luck in love. And there you have it, gamers. In total, we took a brief look at 20 different alternatives to the deck of Many Things. Each of these variants offers DMs the ability to give their players some random chance encounters without hopefully breaking the game like the original deck is wont to do. Which of the alternative decks has you most intrigued? Let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe to our channel for more great gaming content. We do put out new videos every week. And until next time, enjoy your sessions of Dungeons & Dragons.